So you just pulled into your campground, you've got the map, you know where your campsite is, you are ready to relax because it has been a very long travel day. But before that you pull into your campsite and end up with a mess of tangled hoses, electrical cords, or worse yet, a poopsie, don't want to rush through the setup. In this video, we're going to show you some step-by-step, easy ways that are going to improve your experience so that you don't end up with a mess on your hands. So first things first, before that you even get parked into your campsite, you want to just take a quick look at the campsite, check the layout, know where those utilities are located, and make sure that there's no obstacles. So perfect case in point, pulling into this particular campsite, the sewer cap isn't super visible, and where the water connection is on the opposite side of the RV. Knowing where all of those utilities are and then finding the best spot to park your RV is essential to not have to, pull your slides back in and then pull it out and then repark it all again. So, and then just from a safety perspective, it is really important on assessing that campsite before you pull in, because case in point, you see this pole right here and how close it is to our RV. When we actually arrived, we realized that it was going to be easier to come into the campsite from one direction versus the other because of this and things like that, and the sewer, the whole 9 yards. So it's really important to assess the situation and be aware of things like this. All right, so after you've got your RV parked where you want to get it parked, the next step is leveling it and also then putting down your stabilizers. Now, this is one thing where we have seen a lot of confusion, especially amongst people that are newer to RVing, or maybe they have an RV that they're not used to. And that is, there's a big difference between levelers and stabilizers. So first and foremost, what you want to try to do is pick a spot in that campsite that's mostly already level, where the RV's level, just parked as it is. And then some RVs, like our bigger Class A, actually has levelers that you can put down that also function as stabilizing jacks. A lot of your towables, you have stabilizers. Those are not levelers. Do not use those to try to level out your RV. You want to level it first and then put down those stabilizers. Really what those are geared for is to just help provide stabilization as you're walking around inside of the RV, so it's not moving around as much. So step 2 is you want to locate where your electrical pedestal is. This is where you're going to be plugging in for electricity. Now, when you go to open this, you're going to see a couple of different types of hookups. You have a 30 amp and you have a 50 amp. So you need to know what your RV is and make sure that you plug into the right one. Also physically inspect, you guys. I cannot tell you how many times we've pulled into a campground and one of these plugs is actually like burnt up because there was an electricity problem and we had to get moved to a different campsite. So you want to make sure that you double check that everything is good to go there. The next thing is you want to make sure that the breaker is shut off before that you plug in. So make sure that breaker is off. Most people know to shut them off when they unplug, but not everybody does. And then you can hook up your RV. And then last but not least, we use a surge protector because these things are not always perfect and we want to protect the electrical system in our RV. So I will put a link below for the one we use. We've been using it for probably close to 5 years now, and it has served us well.
Thousand Trails, the water hookup's not on the same side as the sewer, so I get to throw this underneath the RV because the hookup is on the other side, which is very interesting.
This is where sports ball pays off.
Yep, I'm gonna have to crawl into the RV. There we go. Okay, here it is.
Oh, look, you got it.
I got it. I've done this a time or two.
And this is why we love having the extra long hose.
So then we're gonna hook up the pressure regulator right up to here. The hose to this end.
So step 3 is hooking up your fresh water. Now, number 1, you want to make sure that you use a water filter. We like the Camco ones just because that way we know we've got water quality consistency from campground to campground. Step 2, you want to make sure that you are using some sort of water pressure regulator. Water pressure, again, from campground to campground could be all over the board. And the way that water lines are inside of an RV, they're just not made like house pipes. They were not designed to withstand certain pressures. You want to make sure that you don't have too much water pressure or really too little, and it's nice to be able to have this adjustable water pressure regulator to know exactly what your water pressure is. And then once that you've got your filter and your pressure regulator hooked up, turn on your water, but then it's important that you make sure that you check for leaks. Case in point, the hose was leaking. Checked, the gasket had fallen out. So put the O-ring back in, no leaks, and we are ready to rock and roll with our water setup. Okay, so number 4 is getting your sewer all hooked up and connected. Now, here is something super important, and we actually made this mistake when we were newbie RVers, and that is you want to make sure your black tank is closed at all times when you are at a campground. Basically, do not open your black tank unless you are actively dumping it. So with your gray tank, you actually do want to leave that open. That's basically going to make sure that you don't get any buildup of grease or anything like that inside of your gray tank. However, there's one exception, and that is if you run into a campground like we just did at this particular campground where we went to go hook up and we actually noticed that there are some insects in the sewer system. Yeah, we're not going to be leaving our gray tank open at this particular campground. We're going to leave that shut and then we will dump it as we need. But usually we would leave the gray tank open. It's another tip when you go to hook up at your sewer, wear gloves. It's just a good idea. I know there's so many people that don't, and then of course they wash their hands. Like, that's fine. If that's you, you do you. But personally, I like wearing gloves. Gonna wear gloves when I get this thing hooked up. So we recently changed over to the all-new Camco Ultimate Flex Sewer Hose Kit, and this thing makes RV life so much easier because this all-in-one setup is perfect for both new and seasoned RVers alike because it comes with a 20-foot Rhino Flex hose that's seriously super tough, but flexible and also resistant to punctures, which is a huge win when you're camping on rough terrain. You don't want any sort of poopsies. What's really cool is that the storage box doubles as a sewer hose support, so you're not carrying around extra gear. It's an 11-piece kit, so everything you need to hook up at the site is right there in one box. No hunting for missing sewer elbows, adapters, or caps. And it's easy to put away once you're ready to pack up and move on to the next campsite, and keeps your wastewater gear nice and organized, which y'all know I love me some good RV organization. So if you're new to RVing or just want a better setup, this kit is a game changer. I'll drop a link below if you want to check it out, or visit gratefulglamper.com/sewer hose. And a huge thanks to Camco for sponsoring this video. All right, so once that we have everything on the outside hooked up, that's when I can focus on the inside. Actually, usually, typically for us, the way that things look these days is Ben's usually taking care of stuff on the outside, then I am taking care of stuff on the inside simultaneously. One thing that I did want to show you guys that we really like for our RV setup is, even though we're using the Camco Taste Pure water filter for all of our drinking water, what I usually do once we get in is I use our Berkey. We've got this travel size Berkey, so usually what I do is I get this filled up with water and then I get this set up, and then we just keep it filled up throughout the week or however long that we're at our campsite. And then one more thing that we always do when we're setting up the inside, so our water heater, which is an on-demand water heater, we absolutely love it, but it is propane powered. So when we're traveling, we don't want to have our propane powered on. We want to keep it off. So once we hit the campsite, we're going to turn on the propane and then turn on the water heater. The other thing that we do in the summer months, especially when it's getting warmer like it is now, is when we're set up, we put Reflectix in all of the windows. So that really helps keep the interior of the RV nice and cool, and it really just saves some wear and tear on the ACs too, because they're not trying to keep up with a poorly insulated RV, and it keeps just that heat from coming in all of the windows. The other thing that we always enjoy doing is kind of making our campsite home if we're going to be there for a couple of days. So at this particular campsite, it's a little close quarters, but we do get the rug out because, especially with Alaska, having a rug area for him to be able to lay on so that he doesn't get too dirty or sandy. And speaking of rug, this rug just came in from our friends over at eTrailer. Now, I love this rug versus the other one that we were using because this is nice and long and nice and wide versus a lot of those other rugs that we've seen or that we even had in the past. The one from Walmart, that's gonna go somewhere else, not carrying it with us just because this has got that length and everything that's so much nicer. A couple of other things from eTrailer that are new that I do want to talk about too is they've got a great new tow bar cover to help keep your tow bar dust free and dirt free when you're set up at your campsite, and a new anti-hitch rattle. We've actually seen a bike rack fall off of an RV while driving down the road because we saw that bike rack doing this number as it was going down the road. So if you're going to be traveling, especially with bike racks this summer, you want to make sure that you've got a device on there to keep that bike rack from moving up and down, because that could cause big issues. I'll have links for all of these products below in the description, as well as a link for eTrailer.com, and we really are thankful for them and their support of this video. So let's talk real fast about a few troubleshooting tips, because you know, it just wouldn't be an RV trip if it was completely trouble-free, right? So if you get to your campground, you're all hooked up and you don't have power, double check your breakers. Make sure that those didn't get tripped for any reason. A lot of times, if you are overloading the circuitry in your RV, you're trying to run things like a microwave and an Instant Pot and your washer dryer, well, it's really easy to trip the breaker at this pedestal. So check that, check your surge protector, make sure everything is good there. The other thing that you want to check for is make sure that you don't have any leaks. So double check those connections, double check your sewer connections, double check your water connections. Just make sure that everything is nice and tight and that you don't have any leaks that you don't want.
Nice job.
So let's see how good you've been with
How
bowling.
good I can throw this.
Coming into those warmer months.
Hey, we're trying to film over here.
What are
Hey,
you doing?
we're filming over here, bruh.
Oh.
Spray yourself.
Hold on. Don't you know? The other thing that's super important is you literally do not want to be that guy. You know what I'm talking about. That campground idiot that just screams newbie. And we have a whole video on how to avoid looking like that right up here.